Thanks. Okay, so as we all know, I think by now, in ABC, we use ABC when the likelihood is intractable. And the idea is to sample a prior predictive pseudo-observation and keep the parameters that have produced pseudo-observations that are close to the true observation. And what I'm interested in here, it's the limit when the threshold epsilon tends to 0. Sorry, it's the limit when epsilon tends to 0 and infinity. When the threshold tends to infinity, we retrieve the prior, which is normal because we accept everything. And when it goes to 0, we don't have the true posterior, but a false posterior, that is a posterior given the summary statistic S that has been chosen. And ABC suffers some difficulties, which are the exploration of parameter space because we are sampling from the prior. So if the posterior is concentrated far away from the prior, it can be a problem. The choice of the summary statistic is also problematic because we have, in general, no clue about how to choose it. And ideally, the summary statistic has the same dimension as the parameter. So among the solutions we propose, we can use MCMC ABC algorithm, which improves the efficiency of exploration, or ABC random forest to choose summary statistics. So there are other methods, but we don't, I mean, there are other methods. So the idea is fairly simple. It's to use a Gibbs sampler to sample from each of the conditional sequentially. So it looks like a Gibbs sampler with the exception that instead of sampling from the full conditional, we sample from this pi epsilon of our coordinate given the observation, one summary statistic that can change between the coordinates and the value of all the other coordinates for this parameter. So we call that ABC Gibbs. You could also call that ABC within Gibbs in the same sense that we have an MCMC within Gibbs. It explains what it does. So in practice, if we have a parameter that has 2 dimensions, as we call alpha and theta, and we need to sample from this conditional distribution, what we will do is, as usually in ABC, sample a lot of points and take as threshold a quantile of distance. But here we only need 1 point to proceed with the chain. So we just take the parameters that have produced the observation, the closest pseudo observation to the observation. So which simplifies a little bit. So the natural question with this algorithm is how does it converge? And to prove that, we could not prove that it's as traditionally in MCMC, a stationary distribution, but we can prove that it converges in the space of measures with the geometry trait. So under some condition that we'll see later how to check. So in practice, we have to say that if the parameters are compactly supported, if everything is continuous, etc., there is no problem with the convergence of the algorithm. But the speed is highly suboptimal in this result, and we can prove better theorems, convergence theorem for usually any DAG. For example, in the hierarchical case, so the hierarchical case is the most interesting, I think, in a Gibbs perspective, because that's where a Gibbs sampler is the most efficient because of conditional independence. So here, what happens? We have one hyperparameter alpha that produces parameters mu1, mu_n, and then observation x1, xn. In the ABC Gibbs, we will sample the mu_j from the conditional posterior given alpha, the value of the hyperparameter of the previous step, x star, the true observation, some summary statistics. And then when we update alpha, because of the conditional independence, we do not need to compare with the true observation. We only need to compare with mu1, mu_n, which are the parameters, sorry, that we were looking at previously. So in our example, we can start with some normal hierarchical normal model with 20 parameters. So we had one parameter that was uniform on the compact set, some parameters that are normal, observations that are normal. In vanilla ABC or in ABC SMC, we need one summary statistic for the whole model. And this summary statistic, there is nothing better than the empirical means of the groups we observe, because we know that in the normal case, it's sufficient. These methods imply to sample in very high dimension, I mean 21, with a high correlation induced by the hyperparameter, which can be difficult to tackle with ABC SMC or ABC MCMC methods, because the proposal kernel must be adapted to this strange shape of parameters. It's not a problem for ABC vanilla, but for ABC vanilla, we are in dimension 21, which is quite high. In ABC GIPS, we only need one summary statistics with air quotes for each mu I, which will be a summary statistic given the other parameters mu minus I, the hyperparameter, and X, where X is the pseudo observation. We also need a summary statistic for the hyperparameter given the parameter and X. And here, what's interesting is that we only need for summary statistics for mu I the empirical mean for the ith group because of the hierarchical structure. And as I said, for the hyperparameter, as it's transitionally independent on the observation, we only need to have the empirical mean of the mu. So here we went from one summary statistic in dimension 20 to 21 summary statistics in dimension 1, which is arguably easier to tackle. And we are in dimension 1, so we can use any distance on these statistics. So we see here why it's a good idea, because we usually only need to find a summary statistic for one parameter of small dimension, which is easier. We can also hope that our summary statistic will be in one dimension so that we don't have to find the strange distance. And for the computation, it induces a reduction of the parameter dimension, which is what we wanted at the first time. We also, because of the hierarchical model, we also only need to simulate downstream our model, because here you see that we only need the ith group, And as we are in smaller dimension, we can hope to find smaller, to reach smaller quantile of distance than vanilla ABC. So if we write properly the whole algorithm, it writes like this, so it's not really interesting. It's just to precise that we only simulate the parts of the data we are interested in, and we take the minimum at each time. And here we simulate some pseudo parameters to compare with the true parameters at the previous step. So in our case, it's quite stupid because everything is normal, but anyway, we can check the assumptions that I wrote earlier for the theorem, because we are in this normal case. So we can write every probabilities and we can check that these assumptions are verified. So here are the results. So we took a similar cost for ABC GIPS and ABC vanilla. By similar cost, I mean the same number of simulations from the prior. For ABC SMC, we have a higher cost because of the implementation of ABC SMC. Otherwise, we have quite a lot of trouble with degeneracy. And we can see that for the same cost, we reach something that is far closer to the true posterior, which is in dotted line, for ABC GIPS compared with ABC vanilla and ABC SMC. And I must say that ABC SMC is quite difficult to use in this case, well, especially because of these degeneracy issues. But if we want to look at a model that is a little more interesting, maybe, we can look at some hierarchical GNK model. So the idea is that when the dimension increase, at some point, ABC SMC will fail, and vanilla ABC also, and our methods will keep going on. So for that, we propose this strange model, which is based on GNK distribution. So we have one hyperparameter alpha, also uniform, which produces mu1, mu_n, which are the parameters. And then we fixed B, G, and K in the GNK model, and we have observation from this distribution. The summary statistic we propose here are octiles for the mu_j, and as we have a normal model for alpha and mu1, mu_n, we use the mu as the empirical mean as summary statistic. So what the results we have are also in favors of ABC SMC, of ABC Gibbs, because as you can see here, either for the parameter or for the hyperparameter, ABC Gibbs seems to be more concentrated around the true value. ABC SMC fails because it's too difficult to tune the parameter and the particle system degenerates, while vanilla ABC is more close to the prior. So if we want to include all the other parameters, so we include B, G, and K also in the model. So here it's not anymore hierarchical, but it still works. So we have, once again, similar computational cost for each method. And we can see that the parameters are quite accurately constituted. The hyperparameter, the other parameter, which is the hyperparameter B, G, and K, are also better constructed with ABC Gibbs compared to ABC SMC and vanilla ABC, which is once again what we expected. But so if in the hierarchical model, it's easy to see what are the gains of using Gibbs, because Gibbs is more or less designed for this, we can also use ABC Gibbs in a non-hierarchical model. So we have this toyish example, which is about heat equation. So we have a time equation a heat equation on a circle, which we discretize. So we have this evolution for the temperatures Yj at each time. And we observe a noisy version of this Yj. And what we want to reconstitute, are the values theta j, which are the coefficients of the equation. So here, each theta j has a local influence over the temperatures that we observe around because of the nature of the heat equation. So what we use for summary statistic Sj for the update of theta j is just the observation around these points. And we use a standard 0,1 standard distance on this. So here we still have observation in smaller dimension, because in vanilla ABC, we can only use the whole observation as a summary statistic. So the results we observe are quite in favor of ABC Gibbs. Once again, we don't know the true posterior, but the true value being 0.65, for ABC Gibbs, it seems to be more concentrated around the true value than for simple ABC. So when I said that it converged, I did not say to what it converged, because we precisely don't know what is the limiting distribution of our algorithm. So to this extent, we proved this result, which is only in the hierarchical case in dimension 2. So in dimension 2, if we note nu epsilon, the limiting distribution of our algorithm, and nu0, the limiting distribution of our theoretical algorithm with the threshold set to 0, then under some conditions on the convergence of each of our conditionals, then nu epsilon will converge to this nu0. So this nu0 is purely, it does not exist, and we do not have access to it. And this might be a problem because this new zero, as I said, is associated with a Gibbs sampler with conditionals that are the conditionals that depends on the summary statistics that we defined earlier. That's what I said in the first slides. So these two conditionals are this pi alpha knowing S alpha of mu and pi of mu knowing S mu of X star and alpha. And these conditionals, sorry, might be incompatible. In this case, we precisely don't know to what it converges. But if S alpha is sufficient, which is not absurd because if we want to create a hierarchical model, this adjunction of this highest level will be created by the experimentator. So in this case, when we retrieve the same limiting distribution as ABC with epsilon alpha going to 0. So there still remains some open question about this. The first obvious one is what can be said in the incompatible case, because we have not observed in practice that it happens, but if it happens, we want to detect it and to say something more about this. The more interesting question in practice maybe is the choice of S alpha and S mu. Because we want to have S alpha and S mu small dimension and locally informative. That is, informative conditionally of the value of the other parameter, which means that in a sense we want S alpha to depend on mu, and we can think about some very strange statistics that will change from one part of the parameter space to the other. We could also weaken the assumption of the theorem, and maybe more interestingly, we can also adapt these kinds of results to other kind of approximation. So what I didn't say is that we can mix in the same algorithm true conditionals and approximated conditionals, which can also increase the efficiency of the algorithm, because if we have a very difficult model with only one part that creates intractability, we can deal with this part with ABC and then simplify the result for the rest. So if you want reference, there is an article that has been published in Biometrica, and all the code is available on GitHub. Thanks.
Okay, we're back in a slightly different dimension. That was excellent. Yes. I saw bits we were in and out. Okay. Questions for Grégoire?
If we can ask.
Do you want to share your, stop sharing your screen, Grégoire? Yeah.
Hey, Chris. Can you hear us, Gail?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So, so we were sort of interested in. Okay, so you've got now not just one distance function, but now you've got many distance functions, and so therefore you've got many more epsilons to choose. So we were wondering, is it difficult to tune these kind of algorithms?
Well, I don't think it has been quite difficult. I mean, we only tried with some simple models, but we can tune it. I mean, each conditional, we can tune it as we would tune an ABC. So yes, we need to tune more algorithm, but I don't really know. I don't really think it's more difficult, in fact. But I must say that I've not encountered a very difficult model with problem of tuning.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I have another question, if I can ask it very well. So what happens to the behavior of this algorithm when there are summaries you can match and when summaries you cannot match? Because by breaking these things up, I could easily think that with the model, I could possibly match some summaries, but not all of the summaries. And it just so happens that the way I've done this BM step, like I can match certain of them, but not others. Have you investigated this?
What do you mean by match?
So like, i.e. where the limit distance between them is 0 and the others where I can't.
I have not investigated this. Well, I mean, more or less, if you can expect that it will diverge or do something that is really strange. But no, I mean, we only have proved the result in this case, and otherwise we don't know really.
No, I was just wondering if you'd explore it numerically at all.
No, numerically, no. We've barely found an example in which it's
Fair enough, friend. Fair enough.
I think I asked you before too about the blocking and the sensitivity of everything to the blocking of the parameters when you gave this at CFE. Did you want to comment on that to the general audience?
I must say that I forgot what we said on CFE.
About the blocking of the parameters and how you've chosen to do that and the invariance or otherwise of the results to that blocking.
Oh yes. Oh, you mean by block? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yes, the grouping of the parameters. Yeah, the breaking down of the joint into the,
I think that grouping parameters, I think the problem we have is to choose the summary statistics. So if we group parameters and we have a better summary statistic in a sense, or something that is more easy to find, it makes sense and it's a good idea in this case. But otherwise, it's just increase the dimension of this part. So if we have a very large group, we lose most of the interest of ABC Gibbs.
I know. So you've got this kind of trade-off, don't you, between grouping parameters, which helps you in MCMC and which harms you in ABC because you have to choose a larger set of summaries.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got this trade-off, haven't you?
Yeah, I think it's really a problem of each model and each experimentator. Each
particular example has its own optimal kind of decision there.
Any other questions? Great. Well, if there are no other questions, I think we're going to go ahead and end this this session. And